Well, hello everybody, Cosmic Owl Astrology, back with the week ahead forecast. I know I've been a little bit lacking on those, my apologies. Life's kind of crazy, and I had to just switch things off to get this done because I recorded another interview with Kathy and Andy this morning. It's already up on my YouTube channel, looking at the post-election astrology and particularly NATO with all the happenings. And then just to add that somebody commented, I saw a video on from Bushcraft Bear talking about the US military cargo ship Cape Texas. It was making unusual travel patterns in the Canary Islands, and then they turned off their transponder. It has shown up off the coast of the Netherlands. Its cargo is military vehicles. Looks like it may be headed for the Baltic Sea. Then I got another comment saying, I heard this morning that Britain has announced that they will be setting up 2 bases in Ukraine. Also, Biden announced an opinion that, as far as he was concerned, the Equal Rights Amendment has been ratified in the in the US. The National Archivist is refusing to publish it because she says, I think it's a she says that the deadline passed, but plenty of legal scholars are also challenging that. So at the very least, he's set up a very interesting legal fight. And that's going to be interesting because of everything else that's happening. But if you want the kind of world news astrology thing, I will talk a bit about it in this video, but go and watch Kathy and Andy as well, and I. But this is for the week beginning January the 19th, but I'm actually going to start just before. So tomorrow, January the 18th, Saturn and Venus meet. And we talked about this a little bit on the joint video, but Saturn and Venus aspects can be a little bit like a reality check, but they can also bring clarity. They can bring a dead end to something and the start of something new. So let me show you where they last met. Venus and Saturn meet about every year, but of course they're both moving around the zodiac. But the last one was March 21st, 2024. And then January the 22nd, 2023, they actually met while Saturn was in Aquarius. Early in 2021, February the 6th, 2021 was a big one for me because this was an exact square to my midheaven and IC. But this one is big because of all the other aspects. So I'm going to get the chart to that post again. And I do want to mention that Venus has already reached maximum elongation from the sun, and she is about to head back. They're going to get closer and closer together as we approach the Venus retrograde. Okay, so there's that. But then other things, so much happening. Oh, my Lord. But then also Venus is entering the zone, as I put it, of her retrograde coming up on January the 28th. So we're not there in this week, but she is heading into the degree. She will pass the degree that she is going to station retrograde at on January the 28th. So she's heading into that area of the chart. And this is kind of taking her into it. Now, you'll hear a lot of traditional astrologers say that she's going to be besieged by this because she'll be between Saturn, the North Node, and Neptune. I don't feel it. I feel like Venus conjunction with Saturn late tomorrow evening kind of launches this moment of very big transformation and clarity and letting go of some of the old rules like the ERA. But of course, it's all a process. Okay, so that's kind of where we're starting. All right. So anyway, all that to say. So January the 19th. I think I'm just gonna do the charts for 8 a.m. as I look at the transits for the week. But a couple of other things I want to say is that Mars is still out of bounds. Mars went out of bounds on December the 30th and will be out of bounds till April the 7th. He will not reach maximum out of bounds till February the 7th, but he's heading out off the ecliptic, further away from the bounds of the path of the sun. And so he's kind of going more wild card, eccentric energy, and also he's retrograde. So any aspects to do with Mars, we'll talk about that. Also, as we start the week, Mercury is still out of bounds, but Mars will move back in bounds on January the 20th at 11:36 a.m. Eastern, which is literally just 24 minutes before Trump is supposed to be inaugurated. So we'll look at that. So I kind of wanted to set the scene. You can also see that we are starting the week in with the moon in Libra. Remember, the moon spends just under 2.5 days in a sign every month. So we're in the sign of Libra, justice, harmony, balance, all those kind of things. The moon just having met the south node in Virgo because the nodes have just shifted signs. So another sign of the shifting tides and the shifting energies we're majorly in. This is kind of nuts. Anyway, so on to the day. So on January the 19th, we had the Venus-Saturn conjunction late on the 18th. So early on the 19th, Mercury will sextile Saturn and Venus. So remember, Mercury is still out of bounds. So Saturn and Venus, here they are, have had this reality check in the sign of Pisces. Mercury is in Saturn's own sign, the sign of the rules, the institutions, and Mercury is still out of bounds, saying things are happening that are beyond the norm, way beyond the norm. I think the news is going to come thick and fast right now because, we're in this waning moon and we're heading into this really intense period with Venus retrograde, Mercury retrograde in the same signs, while Venus is retrograde, going back from Aries to Pisces. Mercury will go back from Aries to Pisces. The nodes have just shifted, say the North Node, from Aries to Pisces. We've also got Neptune heading towards leaving Pisces and moving into Aries. And we have the eclipses during the Venus retrograde in Pisces, Virgo primarily, but the solar eclipse at the end of March is a partial where the new moon itself is in Aries and the North Node is in Pisces. Anybody notice a theme there? Pisces, last sign, also the sign before death and the sign before birth, the amniotic fluid. Aries, new beginnings. This is just wild. But anyway, I love that we have Mercury making these supportive aspects from a sign of rules, structures, clarity, also achievement, building, and it's aspecting Saturn and Venus right after their conjunction on Sunday, just the day before this inauguration. This is wild. Then we also have on Sunday until 3 p.m. Eastern, the Sun is at the 29th degree of Capricorn. Now that's where Pluto stationed direct last time in Capricorn. We had, what was it, Ceres and something else conjunct at the anaretic degree of Capricorn. But this is also the very last degree of Capricorn, the anaretic degree. So Capricorn concentrated. This feels to me like shoring up the rules, rebuilding the rules, all these man-made laws, like starting this discussion, shall we say, or battle about the Equal Rights Amendment in the USA. This is going to be happening everywhere, though. I tell you, this is like wild. There were, a lot of people fight against the world order and talk about the new world order. But as far as the West and NATO and all those things are going, the introduction after the war of this world order we have been in has been in a period of general stability until it started to shift, and it wasn't in the 80s, but that's a whole nother thing. I kind of think we're going to restore this balance and harmony, but anyway, there we go. So at 3 p.m. then on Sunday, the Sun will enter Aquarius, and we have Aquarius season, so happy birthday all Aquariuses. Oh, by the way, you want to stay for the cards, and I'm actually going to draw from 2 decks because just because. All right. So January the 20th, this is inauguration day, and we wake up on inauguration day at 2:53 a.m. Eastern. Mercury now, and I'm actually going to add this back in because I don't normally look at these minor bodies, but I think they're very relevant to what is coming this week. And this is a good week. These are supportive aspects, right? Oh, and so also, before I forget, on January the 19th, right after Mercury sextiles Venus, Mercury moves back in bounds, acting like the norm. Okay. So take that however you wish. Anyway, so on the morning of January the 20th, or was it Mercury? Sorry. No, Mercury goes back in bounds 11:36 a.m. On January the 20th at 18 degrees 15 minutes. So actually all these aspects, oh wow, Mercury is still out of bounds. Sorry about that. So Mercury is sextiled Saturn, which is the guide for Capricorn where he is. Mercury has also sextiled Venus. Then Mercury will sextile Centaur Nessus, which is revealer of abuses of power. I kind of think there's going to be a whole rush of announcements, news, unexpected things that really are kind of behind, out of the norm, like Biden announcing the ERA thing and causing this kind of furore. Anyway, but this is happening everywhere, right? And this is a global thing that's going on right now, this big global shift, collective shift that we've got going on. So, yeah, so that's back to that. So, all right, so we have had Mercury sextile Nessus at 2:53 a.m. Mercury then goes back in bounds 11:36 a.m. Eastern. And right after, I'm actually going to get this one exact. Right after Mercury goes back in bounds, Mars, who is out of bounds and retrograde, squares truth teller and table shaker Eris. And that is at 11:51 a.m. And you feel these aspects more strongly as they approach. But not only that, oh my goodness, look at this. Okay, so Mars is square to Eris. Mars and Eris in the myth were brother and sister, so the same of that Aries kind of energy. Mars, the god of war, but also the guardian. Eris, the truth teller, the outsider, who actually roamed the battlefield after battles, bathing in blood. I kind of feel like she's a revealer of the nastiness of, unfairness and all things like that. So it was almost like this baptism of blood of how people treat each other horribly. And then, of course, Eris also went to the wedding of the elites and threw in the apple of discord that kind of caused this chaos that led and caused them to fight amongst themselves. And that led to the Trojan War and the fall of Troy in the myth. Remember, these are mythical, archetypal journeys. So that's a big shake-up on Monday morning, massive shake-up. But look at this also that's forming, and with Mercury joining it. And the moon is over here in Libra. Remember, justice, balance, harmony, opposing Chiron, the healer, still at that 19 degrees where he was when the nodes entered Aries and Libra in May 2023, but also where he was on April the 8th for the big eclipse that went right up through the USA, and then also where he actually was when the nodes left Aries and Libra too. And he's still in Aries, helping to kind of heal that uber aggressive, masculine, autocratic, not just about men, that autocratic kind of me first energy that we have going on in the world. And as that builds and the moon is joining in, Mercury is joining strategic justice, warrior, Pallas, Athena. And I actually pulled a card when I was talking to Kathy earlier, and that one's gone because I'm not showing that. But I pulled Shield for this weekend. I pulled the Shield, and she has the shield with the head of Medusa on, really, taking down the patriarchy. Anyway, so sorry to go on so much, but this is just exciting to me. But then I am going to get some aspects exact because this week is so big. So then Venus will actually, a woman or the divine feminine, whatever you want to call it, on January the 20th will actually conjunct Nessus. Will it be a woman or that divine feminine energy revealing some abuses of power? Of course, if you have things in around these degrees in the chart, you'll be feeling this too. But this feels like a major reveal to me, especially with Mercury aspecting all of this as well as we start the week. It's just wild. Then I'm not going to get this one exact. I don't usually look at lunar aspects, but bear with me. I'm going to look at this one because it's so concentrate. Later that day, the moon meets Black Moon Lilith, squares Mars, and opposes Eris. So, we have another T-square with the moon coming up to that 24-degree mark, forcing change. This is two cardinal T-squares, cardinal signs initiate change. Change. It's just wild. Okay. And then on the 21st, Mercury back in bounds. Okay, right, remember, so Mercury's back in bounds. Will square that key to healing, Chiron, and saying change. So Mercury at that point will be at 19 Capricorn, not quite with Pallas Athena yet. They're kind of traveling together just for a little bit before they actually meet. squares off to Chiron. I think whatever comes out is going to feel like it's pushing for very big healing change everywhere. Wild. But then also January the 21st, not going to get it exact, 7:28 a.m., the Sun and Pluto meet for a new cycle at 1 degree Aries. Now, this is their first conjunction since Pluto moved fully into Aries, I think, into Aquarius, because it only happens once a year, right? So, but I think they did meet last year. Let me just check. So yeah, they met on January the 20th last year, but that was at the very last minute of Capricorn. So endings. Now one, new beginnings, all right. And if you watch the Kathy and Andy video that we made, that 1 degree or 1 degree of fixed signs, Aquarius is a fixed signs, is really highlighted. But also this is also a new start of this Aquarian energy and a big transformation. So I'm really excited about this week. Mercury is then, and you know, even if exactly what you wish for does not happen out in the world, this is a new start for you as well, to see the bigger picture, to step into that more, if it is to be, it is to me energy I've always talked about. But anyway, so Mercury and Pallas Athena actually meet on January the 21st, 2025, Tuesday. It's very close to the degree where we had that massive conjunction, January the 12th, 2020, that launched kind of the pandemic. So something is coming back around to that point. It's pretty much opposing Mars. Mars retrograde, out of bounds, do something differently. This to me is saying we are going to rebuild our basis of security, all of us. So NATO, US, us individually, you know. So I gave in my blog today, which I have to finish after I record this, while the video's processing, I'll send it out. I actually said that it's going to be a little bit of a rough ride the first few days. There could actually be some issues. I would spend some time in preparedness, like charging up in case of power outages, power grid problems, charging everything up, filling your gas tank with fuel, and then also maybe making sure you've got some water in, things like that. And you've got enough supplies in your fridge for a few days, although not too much, because if the power goes out, then you know what happens. Maybe some ice, so you could put it in an ice bucket, or if you have a generator, make sure you got fuel for that, things like that. I am not thinking everything's going to be dire. I just think, things are going to be a bit shaky, and just in case, would it hurt? No, wouldn't. Anyway, so that's January the 21st. Wild. So you can see that's quite late at night, Eastern, 10:11 Eastern, those two meet. Now then, on to the rest of the week. It really kind of calms down afterwards, quite a lot. So on to the 22nd. By the way, you can see by this time the moon has moved into Scorpio for a couple of days. On the 22nd, we have no major aspects other than lunar aspects, and I think that might be some like deep feelings about all the stuff that's happening in the world. Then on January the 23rd, Mars retrograde and out of bounds makes another supportive or aspect of opportunity on January the 23rd to Uranus. And Uranus is stationing direct, I think, on the 30th. I think he's pretty much at the station point. I think it's 15 minutes. And this, is kind of going to reflect back to when Mars and Uranus met with Algol and things started to change. But it's also kind of a bit of a revisiting of things that started then. It happened when Trump got shot in the ear. Okay, it was the start of Biden stepping down. But I want you to look at this in the middle. Not only is Mars sextile Uranus, it's opposing. Mars is trine the Scorpio moon at that time. Mars is the traditional guide for Scorpio, and opposing Mercury in Capricorn. And this is called a mystic rectangle. It's not really that mystic, but this is one about integrating. So integrating the people and some deep emotions, and being able to see what's lying underneath with the news that has come out or the ideas that you've had around what you're building and structures. This is the basis of security. I really kind of feel like Mars retrograde and out of bounds in Cancer is asking us to revisit what makes how we protect and secure everything. And then Uranus, the benevolent rebel, the change bringer, the Lord of lightning bolts, whatever you want to call him. Another big change. Okay, but this one is one of integrating the big changes that have come. So yeah, so we have that lovely aspect between Mars and Uranus at 10:07 a.m. on the 23rd. Then Mercury will actually oppose Mars at 3:48 p.m. and Mercury will then trine Uranus at 5:07 p.m. And then this pattern will begin to move apart, and the moon will trine Neptune at 7:03 p.m., which is, moved away from this 23-degree mark enough. Wow. But then there's more. Mercury on the 24th, the morning, we've already had some Eris activation with Mars and Eris, right? Mercury will square Eris, the fighter for the outsiders, the fighter for the marginalized. And it's kind of like this fight for, what we do want. I think it's kind of this horned battle. I've talked about it many times between really the East, the West, the rich, the poor, all these like very polarized energies. Then Mercury, Mercury will square Eris, and then Venus will sextile. She's moving faster than Pallas Athena because she is faster. She will sextile the wise justice warrior, Pallas Athena, and problem solver. And of course, this is coming after Venus has been conjunct Saturn and Nessus, so kind of like dissolving the rules, but also about stronger boundaries, revealing abuses of power. And this is another aspect of opportunity for creating something new. Okay, so let's go on to the 25th. I'm really excited for this week ahead, to be quite honest. So then I would pay attention to what happens with this aspect. And I'm going to show you. And I'll spend a minute on this. So Venus on January the 25th at 6:53 a.m. Venus is in Pisces, sign of exaltation, trines Mars, retrograde and out of bounds in Cancer, with the moon at 22 degrees as they exactly do it. All of this is at 22 degrees, which is the master number of master numbers, really. It's kind of this master builder that everything is changing. The 2 2s are the divine feminine. Venus is stronger than Mars, in my opinion, even though we're feeling Mars impact more because Mars is retrograde and out of bounds. We're feeling that kind of erratic energy, erratic with actions, and erratic with how we're doing, taking action with things and how others are. But I see this lovely aspect here with the moon, the people, quincunx, Cancer, Mars in Cancer. saying it's time to really kind of make adjustments. Now, just to kind of add to all of this, of course, Uranus is still at 23 degrees, almost back at 22 degrees, won't get there, but really it's kind of aspecting all of this too, making what's called a mini grand trine. These are all quite wonderful aspects in many ways as well, but they're definitely, or people will call for adjustments, people will call for change, or you emotionally will desire change, big changes from all the stuff that's happened. So on January the 26th, a lot of these are things that are kind of ongoing, but Mars will then oppose Pallas Athena, the strategist, wise justice warrior. You know, Mars over here still at that 22 degrees, still really in aspect to Venus, will oppose Pallas Athena, who is the problem solver, or the shield, or the the taker down of the patriarchy. And so Mars does that on the 26th. Then Mercury in Capricorn still on next Sunday morning. I'm actually going to go a little bit over because these aspects are kind of working together. So Mercury is going to sextile Neptune in Pisces, kind of like revealing more truths, but also giving you the opportunity to kind of step into thinking higher love. Love is all that matters. Love and joy is an act of revolution, all those kind of things. And then Venus Venus will actually sextile. Oh, this is big. So, and yes, I'm going into next week, so you'll get some of this next week too. So Venus on the oh Jesus, sorry. Going back. Oh, hang on. Bear with me. Let's go to today. Venus sextile Uranus. January the 26th. Venus still exalted in Pisces at 23 degrees sextiles Uranus. Now then, I just want to show you when this is the closing aspect of a cycle that began on May the 18th, 2024, when they actually met at 23 degrees Taurus, where Uranus is stationing direct on this sextile. That's all I'm going to say, but you know, this is the last significant aspect before oh my god, before her retrograde, with her last significant sextile to Uranus before her retrograde. Sorry about that. And it's right before she enters the zone of her retrograde, and she enters the zone again on, oh my god, I've got so many things, January the 28th. So she's about to enter the zone. So I'm going to give you a little look ahead, because then April the 8th, anniversary of that big eclipse, Venus will be retrograde, but in that zone completely before she stations direct, still making another aspect of opportunity to Uranus. Incidentally, Uranus is in Taurus, which is Venus' sign. And then Venus will sextile Uranus again, but this one, sorry, oh gosh, is again at 25 degrees. When she's direct, Uranus is direct, and Venus starts moving towards Uranus. So she's getting 3 goes at this opportunity to bring some radical change during her retrograde. And then she will quickly move towards a conjunction with Uranus. I just laugh, I'm sorry. I shouldn't. But July the 4th, Independence Day, Venus and Uranus meet at the last degree of Taurus, her sign, bringing radical change based on our values, all the things we've been working on for so long, it feels like now. I think I'm probably just going to end on that high note. I just want to check one thing before I go. That I'm like, what if I'm wrong with all of this, But there's other aspects coming up next week that also give me hope and promise. So keep tuned for the weekly forecast for next week. Oh, and then some cards. Now then, I actually pulled 3 cards from the deck of character. You cannot buy this. My friend Cassie, who I've been doing the videos with, uses this deck. A friend of hers created it, and she had a spare one. And it's the most unusual deck. So don't freak out when I show you the first card. Go and watch Kathy and Andy and I. We've said there might have to be a short, sharp war. And other people have said that too. War. But then, and do you know what I see this as? Devotee, almost like Vesta, the hearth, the coming into center and being devoted and focused on what you want to bring in to the world. And then the explorer, I take that as some freedom coming. But let's do, another pull from, because I know people worry when there's war, but, NATO has said we're on a war footing already, and I really don't think it's going to be anything like, what we think of as war. And I think it's going to be over fairly quick, honestly. So, but we'll see. Oh, all right. Oh, I love these cards. So this is the Red Seeds Tarot, the deck I use in my Venus retrograde class, which will, if you do it, honestly help you get through this time. Only if you're called in it. And, I only really do it for kind of people kind of who are in alignment with this higher shift that's coming. So this is the Seeker of Vessels, first of all. This is a pure heart that reaches out to let us know we are loved and cared for. And it says, I am heart. So really it's just a call to being love and receiving love. Then for the middle of the week, oh, these cards are lovely. But I want to read you at least a little bit of what this book says. This says, I am glowing. The most powerful weapon on earth is the human soul on fire. And funnily enough, I named the video with Kathy and Andy, Put on Your War Paint, but it's from the song Phoenix that was playing in my head for this week ahead by Fall Out Boy. So go and have a listen to the song and don't make it just about relationships but look at this. Hand in hand. Oh my God. And then we have the last card, and I'm not going to show you till I get the page because I'm like, oh. And these cards have got funny numberings, so I have to find it. Oh, okay, there it is. This is saying justice and accountability. Oh my God, do I need to say more? All right, do I need to say more? I love you.